7 years ago, we were trapped in a high-rise hotel in Christchurch during the Christchurch earthquake with a guy called Jeremy. It's been 7 years since that day, and we've tried to track him down in the past by contacting his old work, which is the US Antarctic Service.
Or like the US Air Force, we think. We're not really 100% sure.
And they couldn't give us any information.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that the power of the internet, you guys can find him.
So earlier this year, I'm standing with my phone in my hand, and an email pops up, and it's from Amber and Andy, and I didn't realize it at the time. And it says like, hey, so sorry to bug you if this isn't you, but we've been looking for this guy named Jeremy for quite a long time. And he was in the Grand Chancellor in the earthquake on February 22nd, 2011, and we're just hoping to reunite. And I couldn't type fast enough. It's me, it's me, it's me. I couldn't believe it was happening. And like all these memories just come like flooding back, and it was strange. I'm standing in a coffee shop reading this, and it was very emotional. My name's Jeremy. In February 2011, I was in Christchurch doing work for the US Antarctic Program. The day of the earthquake, I had come home to the Grand Chancellor from the office. Our season was wrapping up, and my wife was flying in that day. And so I had gathered a box of stuff up and was getting ready to walk out of the door right when the earthquake hit.
Are there people in there? It doesn't look like anything.
I literally had the door open in my room and was walking out with that box. And it hit right then and sort of initially threw me into the hallway and then down. I was on my back for most of the earthquake. And when it was all over with, I just knew we just had to get out. And so I was running down the stairs, and I got to this edge and just stopped, and I didn't see it. I couldn't move forward anymore. We realized there was no way to get down the stairs. There's no way to get out the window and make it all the way down. And we looked at the fire hose, and the fire hose is just like a garden hose size, and I don't think it reached to the ground anyways. I absolutely thought I was gonna die that day. I thought it was a done deal, and we were on borrowed time, and it was a matter of time until that building came all the way down. And I remember very distinctly thinking, when that happens, I don't want to be the guy that's crumpled up at the bottom and is still alive. When it happens, I want it to be over with. Not a good feeling. The complete and utter loss of the control of the situation was pretty significant and pretty difficult to deal with.
I was in an airplane flying from Sydney to Christchurch, and they diverted us to Auckland, and they said, there's been an earthquake in Christchurch. We don't know any information. That's all we have. So we're just going to divert to Auckland, and then we can go from there. So they flew us into Auckland, and as soon as we landed, a man came on the airplane and explained like how bad it really was.
I don't remember the moment we met, but I remember we sort of gravitated towards each other and sat on the edge of a bed, just talking about being terrified of being up there, rationalizing the fact that, if we just waited out, somehow there's going to be help to come and get us. But also just telling each other about our lives and I guess really just taking our minds off of it.
I did not know where Jeremy was when that day. I knew he could possibly be in the hotel or at the airport. I know he was preparing for me to arrive, so I didn't know where he was exactly.
So when we were out on the roof of the car park and we had gotten out, we had to wait for that crane that found us. And when the crane took us down the basket, those of us that were in the basket ran into a police truck, and the truck flew through town and got us over to Hagley Park and sort of put us out. And now we're there in Hagley Park with most of the rest of Christchurch. And it just kind of hit you like, well, what now? We've survived. We've gotten out. You know, what do we do now? And that's when I really started worrying, like, how am I going to contact BJ? Like, I don't know where she is. I don't know if she's been diverted somewhere. A group of us decided to walk to the airport. We couldn't find a flight out of Christchurch that was readily available, and I knew that. And so I walked next door to the RNZAF, and those guys were flying some C-130s north to their base outside of Auckland. I said, can you guys get me up there? And we do some work with them. And so they, of course, invited me on board. I essentially just walked right on an airplane and got to Auckland.
It took several hours, and I remember when he called, it was incredible. Like, I think I just lost it. My body just left itself, and I just cried and cried. It was great to hear from him.
BJ met me there, and yeah, the reuniting was really great. It was great to see her. I hadn't seen her in a few months, and of course, after going through all that, it's pretty fantastic. When I got home, it went right back into normal life, but I don't think I was ready for it. It was frustrating coming back and telling the story, and people say, wow. And, you know, I'm like, well, no, not wow, like this, you know, I'm trying to explain something to you, and it just, I don't know, it didn't resonate with people the way I expected it to.
Jeremy is a very resilient person. He's been through a lot in his life, and so he is good at jumping right back in, but he wasn't completely Jeremy and wasn't the same. I know he was having nightmares. He didn't really explain to me the extent of it initially, but over time, like, he tells me more and more. And it was probably, I think he said, for about a year, he was having those nightmares of earthquakes. And it wasn't always in Christchurch. It was in different places. And he was definitely more anxious. Like, he was very careful in what kind of buildings he went in. And he was comfortable at our home. But downtown here, parking garages, he did not want to go in anything like that.
I questioned my experience every time I told the story. I felt like I'm embellishing, I'm making too big of a deal of this because people aren't reacting how I expected them to. And it started making me think, did I imagine some of this? And I know I didn't, but, you know, memories just get blurry, and they get just kind of washed out with every other memory, even something that significant. And major points were there, and it's almost like a little brownout. Sort of like, you know, things will come and go, little details that happen. Like I remember there was a guy in the hallway, and he was a guest, and there was some staff members that were sitting, and they were sobbing, crying. And this guy lights up a cigarette in the hallway, and one of the staff members looks and yells at him, says, "You can't smoke in here." And he says, "What are you talking about?" And everybody realizes, well, yeah, the earthquake just ripped this place apart. Who cares if this guy's smoking in here? And it kind of went back to normal. But like, it was so, that was such a, at the time, kind of a fatalistically funny thing that happened. Like, everybody laughed at it. And I'd forgotten about that numerous times, and that those little things creep back in. I absolutely think I suffered PTSD. I thought it was just very insignificant. And my understanding of PTSD at the time was just, I don't like being in buildings. I don't like loud noises. I don't like things shaking, and it's going to fade and pass and go away. And that was my understanding of PTSD. But I think knowing just a very little bit more about it now, there were certainly other things.
When we found out Andy and Amber were coming to meet us here in Charleston, I know Jeremy was excited because it was that relationship of being able to talk to them again and kind of recount what had happened and just thank them and hug them and just, have somebody that he can talk to that can relate.
Look right here. Look at the people we're gonna meet. Look at this right here. Guys, how you doing? Oh my God, it's so good to see you. Hey, this is Zealand. Z. Seeing them the first time was just, it was like being reunited with really fantastic friends, which seems so crazy. Like, how did we grow so close in a handful of hours? But it almost felt like we'd never been apart for 7 years. And yeah, it was great to sit and talk and share little details of the story and just to cry together, honestly, just thinking about it and how we're all still here, because I don't think on that day any of us thought that we would make it out of the building. One of the things we desperately wanted in our lives were kids, and I thought I'd never have kids with my wife. When the earthquake happened, that sort of accelerated the process of us going to find out why and find out if there's a procedure that can work, and which pushed us down the road of adoption. We have 2 beautiful kids now. One other thing that the earthquake did change about our lives is we realized that we wanted to be together more, and trying to figure out how we could do that. And we had this inkling that we really enjoyed photography. At that point, doing it as a profession was kind of a long shot idea, and we started maneuvering in that direction. And now we have our own photography company, and we do exactly that. We work together, and it's great. Wrap that leader around the real foot and then hook the fly on a tip that way. There you go.
I can remember saying to Andy in the throes of his post-traumatic stress breakdown, and when he was really, really bad, I said, do you know, one day we're going to look back and we're going to say, we're glad that that earthquake experience happened to us. I didn't believe that at the time. I was saying it to him. I didn't believe it. He didn't believe it. But that's what happened. And so I think in that moment of utter despair and sadness and hopelessness, you've got to just know that it's not always going to be like that. It's going to get better.
Wow, cool. There's 2 of them.
Oh my God. Oh, wow.
Oh my God, that is awesome.
Dude, I've never seen one in a creek that small.
Wow. Do you see them a little bit out here though? But just out in the...
Everywhere in that stuff.
In the wide stuff, yeah, right. We've all got layers to peel back, and until we do, we aren't going to be the person that we actually should be or that we are. And that's what I've learned about myself, is that I thought I was one person before this, but I wasn't. I wasn't that person. I was acting out that person that I thought I should be. And taking all that away and stripping all that back was really difficult and hard, but It's taught me the person that I actually am, and it's taught me to be myself and to be comfortable in being myself and to be really proud of that experience that I had.